All right, good morning. We're delighted to welcome all of you here. Today's press briefing is being sponsored by our colleagues at the UN Development Program, Pathway to Paris, and 350.org. And we're joined, the guests that we have today will be providing further details on the Concert for Climate Action, which is set for Carnegie Hall on November 5th. And that's the day before the COP23 climate conference opens up in Bonn in Germany. On the panel, we have Patti Smith, Rebecca Foon, who are the co-founders of Pathway to Paris. Pathway is a civil society organization that uses music as a tool for advocacy and action on climate change. We also have May Bovey, the executive director of 350.org, which is also a civil society organization which uses grassroots and online campaigns to push for action on climate change, specifically urging countries to transition to renewable energies. And representing UNDP is our colleague Joe Schur, the director of climate change and disaster risk reduction. And finally, we're really delighted to welcome Patti Smith, who is here and who needs little introduction, who you all know is a musician, but has been deeply involved as an activist and a social activist, especially on climate recently. So welcome all of you, and I think we will start with Jessie. Please go ahead.
How close do I have to get? Is that good? Closer? Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So we're so excited about this event. And just a little background on Pathway to Paris. We founded it in 2014 in response to the People's Climate March that happened in New York, with over 400,000 people taking to the streets to illustrate the importance of climate action. And we just saw a gap in this moment when there wasn't a celebration about the march or any cultural event. So just out of necessity, we put together a concert just to celebrate the efforts of everyone who took part in the march. And yeah, it was just so amazing to see the response of all the musicians and all of the artists and poets and writers and thinkers who came together with so much passion and excitement. And the response from the audience, which is people were so moved and so electrified to action, and everyone, it created a real amazing unity, and we knew that we just had to continue this. And we had named it Pathway to Paris for the COP21, which would happen 14 months later. So we decided to do a year-long series of events leading up to the COP. So it's been so incredible to bring all these different people together from all different walks of life and all different vocations, and to help people realize how important their role is, no matter what they do. And that's really so important to me. It doesn't matter if you have written 4 books on climate change, or you're a brilliant scientist, or you have your master's, or you found out about it yesterday, or you just feel passionate about it. It's everyone's fight. So that's just really important to communicate. So when musicians and artists say, oh, I don't know the facts, I don't know what to do, or say, excuse me, you have a microphone and you're on stage and you have an audience and you have a following, you have a responsibility to communicate these important messages to people. And it just helps people to realize just how important and vital the role of music and art and film and poetry and writing is in any social or environmental movement or time of crisis. It's like one of the heart and souls and lifeblood of the whole movement. So that's the thing, I guess, that unifies everyone who's a part of the Pathway to Paris team, is no matter what they know or where they are in their fight for climate justice, we all share the same passion. And yeah. And in addition, very exciting news we have is for the concert Joan Baez is now part of the show too. So we're really, really happy to bring her on board, and so happy with the roster of people at the concert. So thank you.
Thank you. Becca?
Yeah, and just to add on to the work that we're doing with Pathway to Paris and building exactly what Jesse was saying off of bringing together these beautiful musicians and culture and leading thinkers of the world, we also believe it's really important as this movement builds and we unite together to offer or work towards a global solution, which is basically a global solution of unity and peace. So to efficiently or effectively address climate change. So as part of Pathway to Paris, we're delighted to launch a new initiative called the 1,000 Cities Initiative, and it's working off of that idea, that premise that if 1,000 cities unite, if 1,000 cities come together to commit to 100% renewables and transitioning off of fossil fuels by 2040, then together as a planet, on planet Earth, we can address climate change and move together to work towards a sustainable future for us all, for future generations.
Thank you. May, if you want to say a few words.
Sure. Thank you to Pathway to Paris, the UNDP. It's such an honor to be seated next to you, Patti. I'm such an admirer of your brilliance, and it gives me goosebumps to be up here. At 350.org, our work is trying to build a huge social movement dedicated to moving the world off of fossil fuels into 100% renewable energy. And we know that the work of artists and musicians and poets is essential in that cause, because we are named after a scientific data point, 350 parts per million carbon in the atmosphere. We know how far science has gotten us in understanding this issue. We also need the other part of the brain, the heart, the whole human spirit to be engaged in this fight if we're going to build the movement that we need. So that's why we are part of this effort. And some of the most inspiring actions that have happened around the world on climate change have been led by artists in any country you can name. So this is true all over the world. I want to just end by saying a very quick personal story that at the Pathway to Paris concert in Paris, leading up to the Paris Agreement, I remember being in the crowd and listening to you sing People Have the Power, and watching as this whole crowd just gained a boost of energy. Some of you in this room may have been in Paris. You know it was an incredibly historic achievement. We needed that boost at that moment to get done what happened. So I'm incredibly happy to be part of this, and the urgency on this issue, what we're seeing around the world right now, the climate system is screaming at us to take action. So efforts like this are deeply needed, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Patti, if I could ask you to say a few words, and I'll turn it over to Joan.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Jessie is my daughter, and I have watched Jessie and Rebecca build up their organization from a small seed, a spontaneous civic action. And very, very proud to be associated with their efforts. As an artist, I believe that we have a unique role where we can excite, incite the people, rally the people, entertain the people, but real change, of course, is not really made by a handful of artists. It's made by the people themselves. So to have these celebrations, a concert like this, where you're able to reach a few thousand people that can speak to a few thousand other people, it's a way to keep things moving from hand to hand, from voice to voice. And it's going to be a very unique night on November 5th. So we're hoping that people will come and support it, and in supporting it, also be entertained.
Thank you. Joe, lastly, like, you could say a few words.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. We had the pleasure to join the efforts by Rebecca and Jessie, who were leading on this just before the Paris COP. I was also at the concert. I can only agree with you, and Patti, so wonderful to have you and all the artists there. But really, I want to acknowledge Jesse and Rebecca's effort, because at the end of the day, what we need is a full society, a whole of society approach to make Paris become reality, to really seize the opportunity of climate change, to transition to fossil fuels, and also adapt to climate change what's already happening. As I'm sitting here, and as you know UNDP, we work on the front lines in 140 countries, and colleagues of my team are currently in the Caribbean responding to Hurricane Irma. We're going to see more and more of that, and so we simply need to partner as a whole of society to continue the leadership, the advocacy, the efforts, and also the accountability to make it become reality. And let's not forget, while Paris is a great achievement, it does not yet get us below 2 degrees. So while we're implementing what's currently committed, we also need to raise the ambition in the coming years to truly be able to stay below 2 degrees. And for that, we need these kinds of partnerships. We're super excited, and I'm really grateful for all of you to be here with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take some questions. Yes, go ahead. Please use your microphone. No, there you go. It is. Go ahead.
Cool, thank you. So it's a big privilege to be here, have the real movers and shakers of the climate movement. 350.org is probably the most powerful organization against the madness going on right now. You walk the talk, you mobilized not billions, trillions of investments being transferred to green. And now you have probably you're pretty shocked about what's going on in politics. And that's what I would love to learn from the wise and beautiful and amazing activist Patti Smith. So you survived many governments, and your protest movement always was a voice of sanity and mobilizing, going straight to the hearts of people, mobilizing millions and billions. So how do you cope with the current situation? Is there a chance? What can be done against all this ignorance? Thank you.
I think that we all have to continue, whatever is going around us, to remember who we are and what we're capable of, and stay, despite all odds, as positive as possible, and do our work. When I worked with Ralph Nader, one of the things he taught us was nothing productive comes out of negativity and pessimism. So it's important not to be drawn into a state of pessimism or a state of paralysis. One has to take a breath and rise above it. I'm not saying that as rhetoric, I'm saying it as an action, as what I have to do myself. I feel the same way that you feel, that everyone else feels, but I refuse to be trampled by it. I refuse to be demoralized by it. I'm just keep on doing my work, our work. And even something such as this concert, it makes me feel that each thing that we do, whether we did a concert yesterday, we're doing this November 5th, we're partnering with each other, we're connecting the dots. So we have to sometimes not turn a blind eye, but keep our eyes on what we're trying to do, not on what is being done to dismantle our efforts.
Thank you. Yeah, on the right. Go ahead.
My name is Veronica. I come from W Radio Colombia. Mrs. Patti Smith, we feel very close to you thanks to Jose Antonio Suarez Londoño. I wanted to ask you, you talk about maybe turning a blind eye, but what happens when the other side has one of the most powerful people in the world, the President of the United States?
I'm not a politician, I'm not, I am just as anyone else. I'm a citizen. I casted my vote. And now I live within the world that we live, and I just continue to do my work. I can't give an answer that's unanswerable. I can only focus on my work and on our work and on the positive work that we can do. And that is not casting a blind eye. That's not rolling over. That's getting up and working.
Thank you. If we could focus on the concert, Abdelhamid and Matthew.
Abdelhamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi, and you cannot escape political questions. So You know that in democracy, the government is supposed to represent the preferences of its own people. And the majority of the American people prefer to stay within the climate change agreement. However, the government is going the other way. So how can the American people put pressure? You are representing, you are a citizen, and you're speaking on behalf of the grassroots movement who supports the climate change. What we all can do to pressure the government? Thank you.
You can answer this.
If you want to talk, from the
Yes,
side
May.
point of view.
Yeah, I mean, this is precisely the point. The ambition level is far too low. And even if all the pledges come through, we're still going to see 3.5 degrees of warming. So completely inadequate across the board, let's be clear. So that's why we work in every single country on Earth to try to apply pressure. And moments like this are important because they focus the public attention on things that they can do and that we're actually a lot more powerful as a political force, just as you said. Everyone is in agreement about this, and we have to build a lot more political power. That's abundantly obvious.
Sure, of course, Becca, go ahead.
Just to add
You
on to
press
that-
if you could press the, there we go. You're good, you're good.
And just to add on to that, that's exactly why we are launching as Pathway to Paris the 1,000 Cities Initiative, because we believe it's so important, as well as we see citizens, regular citizens like ourselves, deeply caring about and loving our planet and wanting our planet to survive for generations to come, that we need a global plan of action. And so our idea is that if 1,000 cities, it's a bit metaphorical, but if 1,000 cities come together to transition, to commit to truly transition off of fossil fuels and build a revolution, a new world that we don't even know what that looks like yet, but it sure could be beautiful and creative. That's our idea of, that's our vision for peace, in essence.
I just wanted to say also, not avoiding your question, it's just that when I said connecting the dots, every single day doing something. Last night we had a big concert, 5,000 people. We speak about these things. We hope that they'll speak to others. We do a lot of work with young people all over the world. Speaking to young people through music and through art, but these things are not avoided. They are always addressed in the best way that they can be addressed from country to country, from city to city. And but another answer is that one has to do it every single day, from picking up a little bit of litter to turning off the faucet when you're brushing your teeth to important legislation. So that's all that a citizen can do. But citizen holding the hands with another citizen globally, that's when we're going to make change.
Matthew Lee, Inner City Press. I wanted to, about the concert itself, I looked at the Carnegie Hall website, and it said that the proceeds will be, donated to 350.org, Pathway to Paris, and UNDP. If you could say a little bit like how it'll be used, particularly on the UNDP side. And I wanted to ask financially, like the International Monetary Fund is part of the UN system, and they've recently, in fact, just yesterday I'd asked them, they said that they're not going to even suspend debt payments by Antigua and Barbuda, which were hit by Hurricane Irma. So I'm wondering, could the UN system, if you, as many people do, include the IMF as part of it, could it be doing more for victims of climate change, such as those in the hurricane?
I think we'll deal with the IMF question at the briefing, but maybe, Joe, if you want to talk about how the money's going to be used.
Is it coming on? Yeah. So, yes, you've read this absolutely correctly on the website. So at this point, of course, we don't know yet what proceeds might be left over. I mean, the concert is, in worst case scenario, cost neutral. We also have a couple of corporate sponsors on board that help us with the investment to be made to make it possible. We should note that all of the artists giving their time for free, which is not insignificant. And we have an agreement among the three organizations that anything that might be left over will 100% go to climate initiatives on the ground. But it's too early to say today where exactly it's going to go, because we have to look at what actually the outcome is of the concert. And then we'll be sitting together and then find the appropriate place to put the resources. But it will be for climate action.
Great. Maybe Antigua and Barbuda.
It's certainly a possibility, but let's not jump ahead of ourselves. Let's
Great.
look at November 5th, and then we'll take it from there. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming. We'll see you at the concert. Thank you.
There will be a press release issued in an hour. It will also have a link to the ground level.
Everyone knows.